On the replay, which is normal. So hello and welcome everybody to the next Create Better Content series. Create Better Content workshop. There we go. Okay, today is going to be a very, very interesting workshop. Not that the other ones aren't. um, just saying, this one has a really particular personal meaning to me. And as we move through the slides today, and as I move through this, you're going to know exactly what it is why this active versus passive content marketing is even a topic for us to be talking about today. And why it even matters and what does this mean and all of that kind of stuff. So we're going to get started on all of this. So for everybody who is with me today, if you have any questions, please put this in the chat and I will do my best to answer that. We are going to, I appreciate, you know what? Let me start that sentence over again. I've talked about this in the past, and I think this is be a really, really good workshop to do something which I refer to as thinking out loud. So if there's something that I say, and if there's something that I'm going through that you are dealing with too, and that you're dealing with that struggling, by all means, jump in to the comments and share with everybody, because as I always say, you never know what everybody else is dealing with, and your question, your process, your answer to a struggle that maybe you've gone through could be very helpful to somebody as well. So this is a really, really good workshop to do something which I refer to as thinking out loud. So let's get started today. We're going to talk about active versus passive content. What's the difference between the two? Why does this even matter? And then I also want to get into, in the last section, about the purpose of your content, because this is connected to both of those pieces. And why doing this process is going to help you reach more customers in their customer journey. Remember last month, we talked about the customer journey, and that's going to get brought into this workshop as well. And so I will touch on that. But for those of you who have not seen that before, all you need to do is go to my YouTube channel, and all of the workshop replays are listed up there. And then I'm going to share your next steps. And the next steps today that I'm going to be sharing, actually, you guys are the first people that are hearing about this. We're going to be doing another co-working content session, and you'll get all the details about that. I'm going to kind of expand it a little bit, but I'll talk about that as we get into that whole section of that. So let's get started here. So for those of you who have not met me before, especially for those of you who are watching the replay, since 2010, I have taught over about 125 social media workshops at the National Entrepreneur Center here in the Orlando area. So I have worked with hundreds of small business owners, and I bring this up because I want people to think I'm not just here working with coaches. I'm just not here working with consultants. I work with all different kinds of businesses who sell products, who sell services. So I totally get it. I can help you out in any way, shape, or form. I'm currently the owner of two businesses. I have a content strategy consulting business that I've had for 22 years. And then the Create Your Business program, which you hear me speak about, started in 2018. This is the second. Why did I say this is the second? Oh, I did not check I apologize for my screen there. The YouTube channel, as I was saying, if I meant to say, this is the second part of the customer journey. Sorry, guys. I missed out a few words. This is the second part of the customer journey for the Create Better Content series. If you did not catch the first one, you can always go back to my YouTube channel, which is Create Your Business, and you'll see that workshop listed there. And you'll also see all of the past workshop replays there as well. Next month, we are going to be talking about staying consistent with your posting and how to eliminate bottlenecks with your process. That's going to be a lot of fun too. So watch your inbox for the details of that one. So let's jump into the science, because you know me, I always like to start out with the science of the brainstorming, the science of what's going on. And one of the things that I did today was, there we go. I want to bring that down here. Is I pulled back. We actually did this brainstorming science thing back in, I think it was October of last year. but it's still connected, and it's always a good thing to remind you of this process, and it is still connected to what we're going to be talking about today. So I currently, not current, actually, I think I read this book last year. So if you're looking for a good book to read about creativity, Out of Our Minds, The Power of Being Creative by Sir Ken Robinson, PhD, is a really great one to start with. And Sir Ken had said, if you're not prepared to be wrong, it's unlikely that you'll ever come up with anything original. And that is going to be the basis of what we're talking about here with regards to brainstorming. And when I'm talking about the brainstorming, I'm talking about all type of your content, everything that's involved. And quite honestly, can even this process can spill over into other things that are going on in your business. And the science of brainstorming consists of three things: imagination, creativity, and innovation. So imagination is actually the source of your creativity. And I want to make it clear, imagination and creativity are not the same thing. And I think a lot of people get confused with that, and they think it's the same thing, and they interchange both of those words, but they are two separate things. And as a matter of fact, imagination comes before creativity when it comes to brainstorming, because imagination is that mental experience that we have where we imagine that things have existed, that they might have existed, or maybe something that doesn't exist at all that we can come up with in our head, that we just imagine that this is going on. This piece of it is just a mental experience. It's something that's going on within our brain. And you can use this to participate, and by thinking about your ideas. One of the things that I do specifically with regards to imagination is when I sit down and I do my content planning day. Sometimes it turns into a whole weekend, but mostly it's a full day. Before I even start to write anything, I go sit out on my porch. So I have no distractions, no laptop, no pen, no pencil, nothing in front of me. And I'm just staring out at my backyard. And I just think. I just come up with this thought, like, what am I thinking about? What's going on with the business? Where am I right now? And I let my imagination just go. And I don't ever stop the ideas, even if they're like, oh my God, I would never do that, or that's just too expensive. I never stop it. I just let it go, because that's what our imagination does. We just allow this to think about future possibilities and that kind of stuff. And once we get that information together, once I've kind of gotten all that stuff in my head, that's when the creativity takes place. Creativity involves doing something. And for those of you who have been on my list for like forever, and you always see those words that say, if you get stuck, just do something creative. That's the creative thing that I'm talking about, when you're actively producing something in a deliberate way. For me, my creativity comes in, I've got my ideas, and I start doing my content planning. And in between my content planning, I tend to work on an art project, because that's the thing that lights me up. So I could be painting, I could be looking at the paint, the paint colors, I could be doing something. And that's this creative piece of my brain, generally on the right side of our brain, that I'm doing something in a deliberate way. Now, if I'm painting, I'm obviously not working on my content, but what it does is I'm taking action on the things that came up during my imagination section. So that's the whole point behind, but each piece moves from one to the other to the other. And this is when the creativity comes in, about having the original ideas that have values. This is when I start to sort through all of those things, those great big ideas that I had when I was sitting out on my back porch. This is that moment where I start to sort through, I really liked how this was going. How can I make this fit into a theme for the month for my YouTube videos or something like that? This is when the creativity is happening. And the creativity is happening for me when I've got a paintbrush in my hand, when I'm not sitting there in front of my laptop trying to do it. I'm actually doing something physical. And that's when the creativity is happening. There's a relationship between the thing that you're doing and the ideas that are taking place. This is creativity. This is the process, because what's happening is when you are doing something creative, and please don't think that I'm asking you to paint. If you've never picked up a paintbrush since you were 5, I'm not asking you to do that. Your form of creativity could be baking. It could be gardening. It could be finding new places to walk your dog. It's not limited to just art, but I refer to them as creative activities, creative exercises. And as a matter of fact, if you still aren't sure about what to do, go check out my Instagram, because right now I am at the very last week of my Instagram challenge. And every day for the last 15 days, I have been giving you guys things about what to do, some creative exercises. Most of them don't cost a thing. It's just blocking off some time. So if you need some help and you've got some need some ideas about what to do for creative exercises, please go check out my Instagram. Create Your Business on Instagram. I will give you that link at the very end of this. So when we hit imagination, the imagination leads to creativity, and then we turn that into innovation. That's the third piece of the brainstorming. So then we take action on these creative ideas. This is that moment when I am taking these ideas and I'm going pen to paper, writing in my Evernote, writing a Google Doc, or whatever it is your process is. I'm taking something of an idea and turning it into an innovation. And let me give you an example of what I mean by innovation. The telephone is an invention, but the smartphone is an innovation. So nobody invented the smartphone. It's an innovation. Alexander Graham Bell invented the telephone. And whether you want to believe it or not, a smartphone is a phone. I know we don't use it as a phone. It actually says it in the name. It's a phone. It's a phone. So the smartphone is the innovation. So I want you to think about that with regards to when you start thinking through your ideas and start thinking through your products and your services, using your creative activity to help you take what you're doing from that imagination and moving it into innovation, right? So you need to understand, and this is another thing that Sir Robinson had said, to understand that creativity moves through these different phases, and you have to have some sense of where they are in this process. Not understanding this can make people think that they're not creative at all. And I think that's what we fall into. And just know, as you move through this process, there's no right way, there's no wrong way, there's just your way. So I want to repeat, I am not asking everybody to start painting. I'm not asking everybody to go sit on their back porch. That's just my process. And I wanted to share that with you because I thought it was important for me, not just to talk about imagination, creativity, and innovation, but to show you how it can all work and how it can all come together, especially with regards to your process and you getting things done. All right, so let's jump right into this active versus passive content. And I'm going to work through this whole process. And at the very end of this section, I'm going to share with you my personal story about how and why we're even talking about this today. Okay, so let's talk about passive content. Passive content is like, it doesn't require interaction from customers. It's a way of getting your message out there without actively trying to sell something. It hopes that they see your message and they want to see, there's no guarantee that they're going to take action. Passive content is something like billboards. Passive content is radio ads. Passive content is also, if we look at some social media, sometimes I would also consider some passive content on Instagram could be, if you're just posting up pictures and you don't have an actual link in your bio, it's passive content. I'm just reading it and there's no guarantee that I'm going to click on anything because there's nothing that you're giving me to click on. So when I say it's just passive content, it's just branding messages. It's just frequency. It's getting this information out with the hopes that they will look and see and that somebody will take action. A big thing about passive content is local businesses actually see results with passive marketing because they actually have a physical location. Customers can see their billboards, TV commercials, print ads. And if you're interested, you can drive by their business and see the business. Okay, question for me. Would it be something that doesn't have a call to action? Marina asked me, yes, passive action does not have a call to action. That is very correct. Because call to action means, can I say it? Action. Active content means we have action. So passive content is just content that's just out there. And the pros of passive content is it definitely takes less time to create than active marketing content. It can reach a broad audience, like if you're using billboards, if you're using radio ads, you're going to reach more people than you would that are, that you're trying to speak to, let's say on LinkedIn. It's great for building brand awareness, but the thing about passive content is it definitely requires a more long-term strategy. This is not something that you are going to see immediate results for. And the cons about passive content is you basically have less control over who sees your marketing message. Again, let's use the example of a billboard. Before I got into all of this content marketing, one of the things that I used to do was I used to be a media buyer, which meant that I have bought radio, cable, TV, billboards, print, magazines, all of that kind of stuff. And one of the things that I found really interesting about that was we had numbers. Like for billboards, I could use the DOT, the Department of Transportation numbers, and I could give you an average estimate of the number of people who were driving by that billboard at a certain time. So I could say 1.3 million people drive by this, on the overpass during, whatever it's called, afternoon drive time. That's great. I could say that number of people, but how many people are going to actually see that billboard and take action on that? There's no guarantee that people are going to take action. And that's what makes it passive. And it's also really, really easy to tune it out. Radio commercials, how many of us, we hear radio commercials and we hit the dial? I can tell you, I listen to podcasts. I am a frequent podcast listener. And when I figured out that little 15-second button that I can hit when they start doing their commercials, I have nothing against people sponsoring commercials. I just want to keep hearing my podcast. So I keep hitting it and hitting it. And I go through all the commercials and I go straight to hear the podcast again. I tuned out every single one of those sponsors. It's easy to tune it out. That's passive content. And the progress to move forward is definitely going to be slower with this type of content. So passive content is about building relationships. It's about brand awareness, and it's going to require patience because you just don't know how and when this strategy is going to really pay off. So on the flip side of that is active content. And that is the form, as you were asking me, Marina, that is the call to action. This is the people who are looking for your content, who are looking for answers to their challenges, who are looking, doing Google searches, who are running searches on hashtags, that are looking for this specific type of information. They're interested in what you have to offer. They are actively looking to consume your content. So when we talk about action content, we talk about, pay-per-click ads, Google ads, Facebook ads, Instagram ads, all of those kinds of ads. An email pop-up with an opt-in form is another form of active content, because it requires me to take action to fill out that opt-in form. Any type of lead generation that you're going to create on social media contact is another type of action. So when we think about the pros of active content, you are more likely to reach customers who are already interested in what you have to offer. I don't want to say you have more control over this, because I don't really think we ever have control over social media, especially because of the algorithms. But you have a much greater chance to be found, to actually have somebody who's interested and wants to take action and reach them using active type content. You can definitely target them, especially when it comes to paid ads. You can be targeting the demo. You can be targeting age. You can be targeting everything down to education level, moms, grandparents. You can get very, very targeted with active content. like I said, it gives you a little bit more control over the customer journey and how you can put your content into those spaces along their customer journey. And it could definitely be more expensive. Now, granted, I know I was talking about billboards before, and billboards are going to be a whole lot more money than a paid ad is. But for the majority, for most of us, we are not going to be using billboards. We're not going to be buying radio ads. Most of us are doing passive income, passive content in other ways. So active content can be a little bit more expensive because of the paid ads. It's also time consuming to create. As a person who is now doing an Instagram challenge and creating 2 new pieces of content every day, it is time consuming to create this kind of content. And it does require a little bit more effort to get people to take actions because there needs to be a funnel. You can't just tell somebody to click here and go to your homepage and just expect somebody to know what to do. So you have to think about it from the effort sake of how am I going to get them to take action? I'm going to have this post right here, and then I'm telling you to click here to go to my email opt-in. And then from my email opt-in, there's going to be an email sequence. It's a bit of an effort to get them to take the action, right? So we want to think about it from that perspective. So active content is businesses are basically, you're putting yourself out there, you're networking, engaging, and you're sharing more than just a sales message. Very important piece right there, more than just a sales message. Active content does not always mean buy here, buy here, buy here. It could be, engaging. It could be networking. It could be educational. It could be all those things that we've talked about in the past. But active content actually requires you to put yourself out there, which leads me into my story. So last year, I think it was last year when I really started to dig into this whole idea of this. I started really, I want to maybe back up a step. 2021 was the year we were all dealing with COVID and everything was, for me, I was going to hell in the handbasket. I was dealing with all kinds of personal stuff. And one of the things that had happened to me at the time too was, I can see my hair. I should not have walked my dog before in the rainstorm. Sorry, as I keep messing with my hair. So I went through a whole kinds of things and realized at a certain point that there was parts and pieces of the business that were not making me happy. And so I just kind of cleared it away. I just took a sledgehammer to it and started killing off all of the things that did not make me happy and that did not bring me joy. And then I found myself in this big mess and had to rebuild everything. So as I started rebuilding everything and really started finding my focus, especially when I went through in 2022 and did the rebranding of the focus of the content marketing. And I don't know why that never hit me. Of course I do content marketing. That's the thing that I've always done is content marketing. That whole content marketing, which has really helped me to develop the Create Your Business program and how to tap into your creativity so that you never ran out of content ideas again. One of the things I started doing was I went back out there and started promoting, and started talking about my stuff, but realizing my definition of passive content versus my definition of active content was happening. My passive content was I was sharing images on Pinterest. I was sharing images on Instagram. I was sharing some posts a little bit deeper on LinkedIn. I hadn't been blogging in a very long time. And I realized, again, this is my definition of passive versus active. It was passive. It was passive content I was creating. I was putting it out there and saying, yeah, I posted. Don't you see my stuff that I've got on Instagram? Aren't you seeing me on LinkedIn? But I wasn't actively engaging with how do I say this better? I wasn't actively sharing me. That's a better way of putting it. And I started to notice that when I really got into developing my YouTube videos, my YouTube channel, which I totally love now. If you know me at all, I like to talk. And that's what I love about it. I love that moment of being able to tell my story and be able to talk about things and to be able to do more than just like a little 15-second blurb that we could do, on an Instagram story. I wanted to do more. I wanted to share. I wanted you to hear my voice. I wanted you to think about what I was saying and how it was connected to everything. And that it wasn't just about, here's 4 tips on how to be consistent with with content. I wanted it to be more. I wanted you to take action. And so my YouTube videos are not just about you actively engaging with me because you can hear my voice. And these workshops too. And that was the other thing that I started doing. I made the decision during that year. I wanted to start doing workshops again because I wanted to actively engage with you guys. I wanted to actively engage with those of you on my email list. I wanted to actively answer questions and have conversations with you. I wanted to be active with everybody. And what I noticed is when I moved past the idea of just posting, because everybody says you got to post. Everybody says you got to post 3 times. And so I'm going to create all this content and I'm going to post all of this stuff up here. And it wasn't moving the needle any bit. All it was doing was taking up a lot of my time, consuming a lot of my time creating this content. But when I flipped the switch on it and I thought about it in a way of how could I actively engage with my community, actively engage like what we're doing right now in this workshop, actively engage on a YouTube video where you can hear my voice and you can hear me talk about this, and I'm giving you action steps about things to do. That's when I started to see things. I started to notice the difference. I started selling my books, which was like mind blowing. I hadn't sold any books since I first launched it. I started seeing people going to my email list and staying. Now I get that everybody joins the email list and then, then they unsubscribe. It's, you know what? You don't hurt my feelings if you unsubscribe from my list. Please don't ever think you do. I get it. You're cleaning out your inbox or whatever. But the fact that you're staying on my email list means that I am providing value to you, that I am providing some kind of value that you want to see. And that for those of you who showed up today live, I know most of you watch this on the replay, and for that I am thankful as well. But when I began to actively participate in my content, I really started to see the difference. And so when I talk about active versus passive, that's my view of it. I know all that stuff that I shared with you is 100% true when it comes to, passive versus active and, small businesses and local businesses and all of that stuff. I don't want to go back and rework all of those slides that I just showed you. But I'm telling you personally, for me, what has happened. So I really want you to think about this. I want you to think about your content that you're creating right now and think about ways that you could actively put yourself into your messages. And it could just be as simple as a quick video on your phone of yourself, little, checking in behind the scenes or something like that. Or just like me on YouTube where I can hear your voice. Showing up on a workshop like this and I can see your face. Anything that we can do where we can actively connect with you, I think that makes a huge difference in moving the needle and getting people through their customer journey, because now they've gotten to that place where it's not just I'm reading a post or I'm reading a blog post or I'm seeing a little 12-second video or whatever it is, like a little Facebook stories or whatever. I'm actually getting to know you and who you are and how you're going to help. And there's something that happens when people do business with people that they know and they trust. And so creating this type of active content, and you notice I'm saying any form of active content, I'm not going to tell you exactly, you have to do videos, you have to do this, you have to do this, you're not going to be successful. That's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying at all. What I am saying is for you to find a way to put yourself, your voice, your physical version of you, you talking, whatever it is that you feel comfortable doing, and find a way to add yourself into your content. It is going to make a world of difference. And that to me is going to change your strategy and it's going to grow your engagement. And I feel very confident that it's definitely going to move people through that customer journey. And it's definitely going to help them feel confident about making a purchase with you. So let's talk real quick about the creative activity, because there's always a creative activity. As I shared with you before, I always want you to do something creative. And again, something that's not going to cost you any money. So if we talked earlier today in this, we talked earlier in the workshop about moving from imagination to innovation. And I had shared with you about my little process that I do. I want to ask you, what is creative for you within your marketing? Do you feel creative when you're making your images? Do you feel creative when you're writing? Do you feel creative when you're planning? I mean, whatever it is, think about the pieces and parts that you feel creative to do. What are the steps that you take? What is something more that you can do? How can you connect the imagination part into the creativity, which will then move you into the innovation? Think about that. So for today's workshop, our creative activity for creative thinking is, I want you to spend 15 minutes to daydream. As I said here before, in the study show that about 50% of our waking hours, we are thinking about something other than what we are doing. Some people call it mind wandering. I call it daydreaming. And when people think that you're daydreaming, it means that you're being lazy or you're lacking focus. But let me tell you, that is not the case at all. Your daydreaming is a source of creative inspiration. This is the part that I was telling you about. When I get started on my content planning day, I do my daydreaming. I let them marinate. I just think about things, and and ideas start to spark. And again, I don't allow myself to go into that space where, like, oh, you can't afford to do that. Oh, that's going to take an hour. That's going to take hours from your time to do. You have no idea how to use that technology. I don't allow that to happen. I just let it sit, and I daydream, about it, and I just let it go where it's going to go, and I don't stop it. So I'm going to ask you to spend 15 minutes to daydream. And I'm going to explain to you what I want you to do. I want you to turn this time into creative inspiration. I don't want you to think about what you're going to have for dinner, what you're going to do this weekend. Is the rain going to knock my Wi-Fi out? All that kind of stuff that I'm thinking right now. I want you to come to your daydream with a question and think about where you're being challenged. If you need to give yourself a timer, set yourself a timer of 15 minutes, and then stare out the window, go to another room, go outside on your back porch, whatever it is, away from your laptop. You got to be away from your laptop when you do this, and just think about it. Daydream through it. I'm saying 15 minutes, but if you want to do this longer than that, by all means, go for it, because it's not about the amount of time. It's what you're daydreaming about. I want you to focus on that question when you take your break. Focus on that question. Focus on where you're struggling. Focus on your thoughts, and watch your brain jump from this to this to this to this to this. It's quite impressive, quite honestly, when you think about where your brain will go if you give it the opportunity to go. And when you come back to your work, when you come back to your desk, when you come back to doing whatever it is that you're doing, I will assure you, during this time, you are going to come up with some creative answer that you have not thought about before. Not once. And so it's a really, really great project. And it takes 15 minutes of your time. You could go a little longer if you want to, but I'm telling you, it doesn't cost you a thing to do something like this. So a lot of these creative activities that I'm talking about, you don't have to spend any money. It's just taking the time to do it and being open to this. And what happens is, right after that, make sure that you keep your notebook and pen or your Evernote or whatever it is that you use, and document something. Because if you don't want to, you better document it right then and there, because if you don't, you're not going to remember it. So as I shared with you guys earlier at the beginning of the workshop, we are doing another co-work content creation workshop. I started doing these last year, and we did our last one in March. Kate was there. Yeah, Kate, you joined us last time. And so this month, actually for next month, I apologize for it. So we're going to do this in June. We're going to do this on June 14th and June the 22nd. I want to do 2 sessions now. And what each session is going to have 3 people in the session. I have discovered, I have done this now a couple of times, that I know that we can't do more than 3 people. What we do is we get together for 90 minutes and we all just are co-working and I'm more of a facilitator than anything else. And I kind of help you all work through whatever where you're struggling, where's your problems. And it's not just me. The other people in the group will help you with your questions and give you feedback in real time. And it's a really great process. So I'm going to be doing 2 of these on June 5th, 14th, and then June 22nd. So I will give you some more information on that as we move through this process. All right, so let's keep going here. Why your content's purpose matters. So I talked about active. I talked about passive. We talked a little bit about imagination and innovation and all of that kind of creativity and all that kind of stuff. So I want to pull all of this together, and I want to show you how we can create this content that's going to be better it's active versus passive. But really where it starts is when you get started on this and you're like, okay, I'm going to be doing active content. I'm going to incorporate myself into this. How, Penny? Tell me how I can start adding myself and be more active with my content. I'm glad you asked, because I have some questions. I have some answers for you. So what we're going to do when we find our content's purpose, the first place we're going to start is thinking about our customer pain points. That's always the first place. And we think about how we're going to map this out with our customer journey. And what we can do is when we look through our customer journey, we can move through this process. We list out some content and how it's going to fit into that journey. We could say, okay, we're going to get to this place, and I'm going to move through each part of the customer journey, and I'm going to give you some specific examples about how you can do this. So I want to talk you through this. Because what happens is if you can create content this way versus being reactive, going, I need to get something up, I need to get something up, I need to get something up, that's when it ends up turning passive, because we're just doing something for the pure sake of just posting. But if we do it this way, if we back up a few steps and we think about the customer journey, you're going to see greater success earlier in the decision-making process than if you had by just throwing up a whole bunch of passive content onto your social sites. When we first start about the pain points, we start asking ourselves through these questions. What's the primary purpose of this content? Who's the potential customer for this content? What one action do I want the readers of this content to take? And let me give you examples of this. I'm currently at the very end, as I said before, I'm doing an Instagram challenge on my page where I'm giving you 2 new pieces of content every single day. I did this last year, and the reason that I do this in the month of May is because on May 30th, it is officially International Creativity Day. And I believe the whole month could be considered Creativity Month, but I'm not 100% sure, so don't quote me on that one. But I do know that May 30th is International Creativity Day. So that's why I do this in the month of May, and I always end it right on the 30th. So my primary purpose of this content is to explain how to use creativity in your content. Granted, I'm doing a whole bunch of content tips, but I think the thing is that most people, if I told them I'm just doing an Instagram challenge to show you creative activities, they'd be like, what? I don't understand the purpose of that. But if I said, oh, no, I'm doing an Instagram challenge because I want you to see all kinds of great content tips and I'm trying to drive traffic to my Instagram account, that makes more sense. But the real purpose for me behind doing this Instagram challenge, I do have a purpose, is that when somebody says to me, Penny, you keep telling me to do something creative. I don't want to spend a whole bunch of money. What is it you want me to do? I can now say, go to my Instagram account and start scrolling. And you'll see something that says day 1, day 2, day 3, day 12, day 15, whatever. And there's 15 examples right there of things that you can do. 15 examples. So you can't ever come to me and say, I don't know what to do. And so that is the primary purpose of this content for me. And the potential customer for this content is somebody that I'm looking for that understands this and that is willing to be open to the idea of trying out these creative exercises, doing something different, understanding, like I said at the very beginning, understanding the difference between imagination and creativity and knowing that you have to physically do something. That type of person is the one that I know that's open to this idea and is working on their content, is going to be interested in down the road signing up as a member for the Create Your Business program. That's my potential customer. So what one action do I want the readers of this content to take? My one action that I want them to take is that I will always send them back to my email opt-in. And my email opt-in means that they get on my email list, and you all are on my email list. So you know the kind of information that I am sending you. You know that I'm going to give you links to show up at a workshop with me where you can actively engage with me. So I'm creating more active content. I want you on my email list because I'm also going to be able to send you links to my YouTube videos where you can hear me talk some more, where you can actively hear me and engage with me that way too. So as you can see here, my content's purpose for the Instagram challenge is all of these things. So if you want to screenshot this slide really quick, this is a good place to start when you're thinking about how to work through your content's purpose. And I just gave you a clear example of how this works. So we talk about the customer journey. This was back from last month, but I'm going to do some refresher here for you. When we talk about the customer journey, we got the purpose of it. But then we look at the customer journey and we say, what do they say? What do they do? How do they think or feel? What is the pain or the gain by not taking action? So those are those 4 things that we talked about, where they are in their customer journey and how we're going to create this content with them. We know that the customer journey does things like improve customer retention. It not only looks at just what's happening while they're making the decision, it's before they make the decision. And a lot of time, the customer journey is even after they purchase something. You can get information about why they're leaving the site, why they're not participating in your, even if you're doing active content. And it definitely enhances your strengths and helps you improve your weaknesses on the things that you are doing. Helps you understand improves your marketing efforts. Doing the customer journey work helps us understand our customers better. We learn their touch points so we can personalize our marketing messages, and our marketing becomes more customer centric and less focused on our business. It's more about the features. It's more about what can I do for you? How can I help you? Versus this is my business. I've been around for this many years, blah, blah, blah. That's great. But how can I help you? So that's when we talk about the customer journey. It's more in that respect. So let's go back here to the customer journey. This was the original slide from last month, but I wanted to bring it back again just to remind you. We've got the three stages that they go through: the awareness, consideration, and then decision, right? So if we look at this from the perspective of your purpose and understanding how to create some active content with it, let's start with awareness. The purpose of the awareness is why your product or service is more beneficial to the customers than the alternatives, better than the competition. Your customer that you're trying to connect with are people who are researching and new to your product or services. The action that you want them to take is that they're going to use this content as evidence about why they should evaluate your product, your service, how you can get your business on their list, on their radar, so to speak. And some content ideas that we've talked about before, but I'm going to bring them up again for the stage 1 awareness content ideas: blog, ebook, videos, webinars, social media posts. All of that kind of stuff is really, really great for the awareness, but we want to make sure that we're trying to create some active content within that. So if there's a blog in there, we want to make sure that maybe there's an opportunity that the blog could send them someplace else. We could do a content upgrade where they could download something, and within that content upgrade, when they get the email sequence could have a series of videos that you created for them explaining something. So the blog is just, granted, the blog could just be that, but you could also add some video, your own video, into the blog itself. Ebooks, the same thing. Obviously video, we have the opportunity that I can see you, I can hear you, I can interact with you on webinars. And social media posts, that has a lot to do with the type of call to action that you're going to be putting into the social media post. People that are just posting up stuff for the pure sake of posting and not having a link to go back to, that's when we turn that into passive income versus active income. Why do I keep saying income? Passive content. I keep saying passive income because that's a thing. Passive income is a thing. Okay. So the buyer's journey. The second stage is called the consideration stage. So we think about the consideration stage. The purpose of the consideration stage is it shows that your business is an innovator in the service or is moving in that direction. So remember going back to the very beginning when I talked about imagination, creativity, and then innovation. You are taking your creativity and you're taking the idea of what it is that you're doing, why can't I say this word? Unique. Thank you. The unique spin that you are putting on this. So you may be doing something that thousands of other people are doing. What makes this unique to you? Is it your process that you do differently? Is it the way that you work with your clients differently? Is it the way that you research something before you actually do it? That is your innovative way that you are changing your service, your product that you're doing. And the purpose of the consideration stage is to share this type of information that you're doing. And the majority of the people that you're talking to are existing customers. These are people that are already on your email list. These are people who are already in your community that are already following you. There's a good chance that they might have already purchased a smaller, maybe, like a tiny offer, and that that you could move them up into another piece of another piece of your service. And the action that you're going to use with this is you're going to take your content to counter their internal objections and answer questions for them to purchase. That is the whole point behind the consideration, is to show you how unique you are, how you differentiate yourself from them, and that what you're doing is you basically are answering the question, why buy from me? Why would you work with me? That's exactly what you're doing in this consideration stage. So some of the things that you could be doing with your content for the consideration place is download resources, checklists, templates, ebook guides, and case studies. So it's a completely different thing, because that we're also talking about, we're going deeper when we're talking about a guide or a case study, especially if it's something that you have done the case study on and you have done the research. And maybe that's what why can't I talk today? Differentiates yourself from others, is knowing that you have this information, knowing you have this research, knowing you can do this, and that's information that you're going to share with them. Videos, how to, your step, your process. This is what it would be like if you were to work with me. This is how I handle buying Facebook ads. Everybody else does it this way, but what I do is I add this additional gatekeeper type of thing where we can qualify, where we know that somebody's a yes, no, and a maybe. And so my whole process is to help you determine you can get more yeses and how to make those maybes turn into yeses. That's my process to help, I'm making up stuff right now, but you see my point is where I'm going with this. It's about getting to that place where you can show why somebody wants to work with you over your competition. That's what we're talking about here. And finding ways to add yourself into this. Add yourself, add your image, add your voice, your opportunity where people could communicate with you and engage with you on a personal level. So the third part of the buyer's journey is the decision stage. In the decision stage, obviously, the purpose is to move these potential customers to the purchase. Most likely, your customer base on this one's going to be existing customers. You have a greater chance, especially if they're on your list, they're an active member of your community. They want to up-level their work with your business. This is the customer who you're talking to. The action itself is the content to purchase, sign up for the program or the service. You want them to take action. You want them to poop or get off the pot. That expression, I don't know why I just said that. It just popped into my head. But that moment where you're just like, okay, what is it? What do I need to do to get you to just sign that, sign here, click here, do this. That's what we're doing right here in this decision process. You know who I am. You know I can help you. What can I do to get you to move forward with this? And some of the stage 3 decision content ideas that we can do are shoppable social posts. And what I mean by that are they're the ones that are out there that you can click on them and they go right to the page where I have to buy. I don't have to go from the social media post to your home page, then from your home page, go to a sales landing page. I go straight to the purchase page. That's a shoppable social media post. Perfect. Those are the perfect ones that you want. If I am ready to go and I'm ready to sign, give me that link. Give me that link. And the same thing with shoppable website content. Don't make me jump around. Shoppable website content also includes those landing pages and making sure that there are several areas on that landing page that I can click on to buy. So if I don't need to scroll down, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and I'm still scrolling and I haven't found any place to buy, you've lost me. You have lost me. So landing pages give me enough opportunity to make my decision right then and there. I might even do it at the very, very top. Live demos, workshops are another way that you can get people to buy. Email marketing sequences, definitely move them through that journey. And each one of those emails in the sequence will answer questions, will handle their objections, will take them through that journey where they're nodding their head going, that's me. I want to buy. That's what we're talking about when it comes to this one. Oh, wow. I moved through that really quickly. So I have time for questions if we want to. So if you guys want to continue this process, I want to remind you again that the next co-work content creation workshop, we've got that coming up on June 14th and June 22nd. I just want to let you guys know, I don't have the times yet. What I end up doing for these sessions is I wait and see who signs up for each of these dates, and then I get a consensus. And because the last time I did this, I ended up having somebody who was in Europe come join us. So we ended up having to go at like 11 o'clock in the morning, because if I did this later on at night, it was like really too late. So one of the things that I do is I don't know the times yet, but I do have the days. So if you're able to say, I want to be on June 14th or I want to be on June 22nd, you can just say, tell me, give me some times what are good for you. And we go from there. We have 3 people in each one of these sessions because I have found that for 90 minutes, if I have more than that, I don't want to say nobody. I want to make sure that everybody gets a chance and everybody gets time to talk through everything that they need to do. It's a great co-working session. I'm basically there facilitating. I am not teaching like I am right now. There are no slides. We all show up on a Zoom call, and I give you a little pre-work to do so that you do come prepared, but you are there with your content questions and you can get feedback in real time from other like-minded business owners, just like yourself. So questions, I do have time for questions because I'm actually done early. But before I get started with questions, I want you to see, here's the my Instagram. You can see it right there at Create Your Biz. That is the place if you want to go check out the Instagram challenge that I was telling you about, where you can see all the creative activities that I'm doing. If you are interested in the co-working content creation, one of the workspaces, one of the 6 ones that I'm going to be doing, let me know in the comments below. If you give me your email, I will email you that stuff. But it is going to go out on, when is it? Saturday. My Saturday email, it is going to go out. So for those of you who are here with me live, you get first dibs. First dibs. Okay. Nina says, I want to be on June 14th. I will send you that information. Okay. I don't have a name. It just says iPhone. I'm sorry. I don't want to call you iPhone, but that's all I have here. I like the point about subscribers staying on your email list because they find the content valuable. Did you have a question for me, or did you want to? Okay. I just want to make sure that I'm not calling you that. Janita, is that how I pronounce it? Okay. Marina, I'll send you the information. Because Marina, actually, I saw,
Hello. Yes, that's correct.
was that correct? Okay, thank you.
Sorry.
I hate to mess up.
Yes,
No, I hate
yes.
to mess up people's names, especially when you have a very unique name. I didn't want to
No
mess your name
worries.
up. Thank you for clearing
No
that up
worries.
for
Thank
me.
you.
Um, Marina, I saw
Uh-huh.
an email of yours come through. I think it was yesterday. I've been very overloaded with a couple of client projects today. So what I will do when I get back with you, I will try to respond back to your questions that you had for me. And when I do that, I will send you the information about the co-working session. Okay. That sound good?
Great.
Okay. So I wanted to make sure I told you that. I didn't want you to
Great.
think
Yeah.
I didn't see it. I did see your message. Did
No,
any go ahead.
it's okay.
Yeah, I'm a little overloaded right now, but that's all right. It is what it is. Did
I
anybody have
have a
any?
question.
Please, yes, please ask.
Yes, I do.
Yes,
I wanted to ask you, do you guys use ChatGPT at all for content creation?
I have not. I do have several clients that use it. I have not really
Okay.
dug into it yet. Really dug into it. Um, I know enough to make me
Okay.
dangerous, but I haven't. Look like you're nodding. Do you have something to say about that? What's your thoughts on that one?
I've used it.
Are you using it?
I've used it. No, I'm not using it for content writing, but I am using it like for research.
Mm-hmm.
I'll ask it, like what should I include in this article, and it'll give me like an outline of stuff that I shouldn't let leave out of the article.
Yeah.
Like yesterday, I was remembering I had read a quote from somebody, from a famous designer, but I couldn't remember who it was. So I just put, who wrote this and this and this and that, and why.
Mm-hmm.
And it came up with a name and, like 3 paragraphs of the why of it. So it's
Yeah.
just, to me, it's fascinating. I'm not using it as such for my content, but it's fascinating to see what it comes up with.
Yeah. Yeah, I started to use it a little
Are you using
and
it
I
to
found it to
create
be
content?
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I do
How are you using it?
actually. Well, I shouldn't say it like that. I shouldn't say yes like that.
That's okay.
Um, not like I'm some big chat GPT user, but like say today I was like, let me just let me just see what will come up if I say to it, I want to create these certain type of posts.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I quite liked it. I quite like what they gave me because what I found in Google. Actually, I should do a comparison to
Mm-hmm.
see if I get the same result if I type it the same, search into Google as well.
Yeah.
But I was pleasantly surprised of what I got back that can help me, um, just even a play on words that would
Mm-hmm.
be a little bit more inviting to those that's taking in the information because for me I know I have a very I'm not a writer by any means, so I'm always nervous about the way I'm putting my words together. So I found it like I was very impressed and I was like, man, I could do a few posts off of this, like,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean, and feel pretty confident with like what I'm posting and just basically make what I did a content pillar and be
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, this is one of my pillars and it's basically, I run a short-term rental,
Mm-hmm.
and my thing is I don't advertise my house, but I advertise more what you can do when you come to Bermuda, the different things
Mm-hmm.
that you can
Mm-hmm.
do. So in my post, you'll see me all around Bermuda doing all these different things.
Mm-hmm.
So like right now, because we're coming up to mid-year, I would say, okay, guys, like, have you taken your vacation? I need to know that you've actually been taking paid time off,
Right.
right?
Right.
Like, I totally get that we're bugged on. So that would be like, over the next couple of weeks, I'll be probing and being like, I need to have you like book your vacation, And it's
Yeah.
something I do at the beginning of every year as well. So I found it pretty useful.
Mm-hmm.
For that, and I'm really like excited to dig in a little bit more with it as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've
So
heard a
that's why I
lot,
was
and
asking.
yeah, I know that someplace, if I could look at my workshop list and I don't have it, I believe I am planning on something to talk about some AI in the future, and how all this
Yeah.
works. And I do
I mean,
know,
yeah. And
yeah,
I
it,
think at the same time, uh-huh.
go ahead. No, go ahead. Go ahead. What were you
No,
gonna
I was
say?
saying, and at the same time, I can't appreciate that. No, I was saying at the same time, I can't appreciate that different audiences may
Hmm.
not be quite ready
Right.
for chat GPT either, which is absolutely fine. You know what I mean? Because I mean, pushing it onto people is not really a good thing if they're not ready for it either,
No,
right?
no. I think the thing that we are starting to
Yeah.
understand is it is now becoming a part of the process. It's here. It's there. We can't ignore that it's
Mm-hmm.
here. But the biggest thing that I take away from it is, and I know that that's what's going on with the writer strike right now, here in the States, is um that there's still the human element that we can't discount.
Yes. Yeah. And exactly. And the thing is, as much as, and I totally get like the writer's strike about it,
Mhm.
but for me, I think it requires a certain skill set to get out the
Yeah.
desired result,
Yes.
right? So you're
Yeah.
still not going to get what you're looking for if you don't
Mhm.
understand how to research what you're looking for.
Right.
You know
Exactly.
what I mean? So
Yes.
I can't see that it takes away from it. And I think at some point, if majority only knew how to type in, you know, give me 10 quotes on vacation, well, obviously everyone's gonna get the same GPT answer, right? So that's not really going to make you stand out. You know what I
Right.
mean? But
Hmm.
if you took it a step further and was like, okay, give me, you know, 10 funny quotes or 10 unique quotes about a particular destination or whatever, you know what I mean? Then you're digging, you're starting to get off the surface. So I just think for me, the way I look at ChatGPT and also even for the one that has the where you can do all the like different illustrations
Hmm.
on like a similar chat GPT
Hmm.
where it's illustrations. I think it's the same concept really, right? So I just think it's a matter of us changing our skill set
Right.
in terms of like how we research things. So you're not gonna get the same. It's not gonna be as easy as people think it is.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
I agree with you completely. And I always want to say, especially when it comes to social media marketing, we have to remember, especially let's talk a little bit about what you're doing. So you can go ahead and download all of this
Mm-hmm.
post information and all of that, but when it becomes unique to you is when you say, okay, the top 10 things that you can do in Bermuda that
Mm-hmm.
you can pull off a chat, and then you put yourself in it and you go out
Mm-hmm.
and say, so out of these 10 things, I went and I did this one thing,
Yeah.
and now I videotaped it, and or I'm doing behind the scenes and I'm adding to it. So
Right.
what you've done is you've used it for the research,
Yeah.
but then you've
Yes.
created this experience of
Yes.
yourself in it, which
Yeah,
brings us full
exactly.
circle back to
Yes.
active content.
Exact.
So there is a way that we can marry
Yes,
the
it's
two.
true.
There's
It's very
always a way
true.
to marry the two. And
Yes.
it this conversation
Yeah.
is reminding me of the conversation that I used to have when with regards to social media. I always said that with social media, there's two things that we need to be thinking about. There's the algorithm, because the algorithm is going to be based upon engagement. The algorithm is going
Mm-hmm.
to be based upon hashtags. The algorithm is going to be based upon the search quality of it. There's always that. But the second
Yeah.
part of it is, and I always have to remind people, is that there's the human element. There's the human element of it, because the human
Yeah.
element is the one who's
Yep.
scrolling. The human element is the one that stops and reads your post.
Yes.
Human element is
Yeah.
also the one that takes action and
Exactly.
clicks on the post to read more, to sign
Yes.
up, to download, to do whatever. We can mess with chat
Yeah.
all day long and we can deal with algorithms all day long, but we can't forget that the human element is the one that takes
It's
action.
true.
The
I agree.
human is the customer. And we can't ever forget
Yeah.
that piece of it. And that's a really important piece. And so when it comes to AI in
Yeah.
any kind of format or this, I always try to remind when I have a client that's really, really heavy into chat, really heavy into it. And I always have to remind
Mhm.
her, that's great. And she can write a whole blog post using chat. And I always say, that's great, but you've got to
Right.
put you in it. Because if I could run the same search on
Right.
it, what's to stop me from posting that same
Yeah.
exact blog post with the same results that you posted up? Because I saw the same thing. What's to stop me? There's nothing. There's no
Right. Exactly.
copyright. There's no trademark. There's nothing stopping me and you from posting the same exact thing. So what's going to make the difference between somebody who
Exactly.
my post and your post to take action? It has everything to do
Exactly. I
with business, who we
agree.
are, who we're talking to. And remember who
Yeah.
we're talking to. We're talking to humans. So we have to always remember that. And so I get this impression
Right.
that we are moving into this arena with AI tools, and it's going to be a matter of, and that's one of the reasons why I haven't done the workshop yet, because I'm still doing my research, how we can utilize these tools.
Mhm.
But I believe 100% that none of this is going to work if we don't have any type of active content that includes us actively engaging with people. That's
I
that's
agree.
that's
And the
my
thing is,
personal
even
opinion.
like for me, like I've never, well, I shouldn't say I've never, but very few posts on my page even includes my short-term rentals, right? Very few posts.
Okay.
And all of them include me
Mm-hmm.
and what you can do. And most of my people that I get, they only want to come and stay with me, not because I've got this grandeur apartment or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. They
Yeah.
really end up wanting to come and stay with me. They think I'm on vacation with them because I'm in so many of my posts, right? They're like, you're the perfect person. Yes,
Mhm.
we want to stay with you. And I'm like, this is amazing. But it really like I would use Chat GPT, I would use Google searches, which is, pretty much the same, right? And almost one of the same, but like you said, unless you put yourself in it, people don't get to know you and they're not going to get to know your product or your
Right.
services,
Right.
right? It's as
Yes.
simple as that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's about getting over the fear of being on video and all of that. You just have to do it.
Yeah. 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 Are you leaving, Marina? Yeah. We're signing. I really love this conversation that we're having right now. I
Yeah.
appreciate that. Thank you for the question. I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
You. Yeah.
No worries.
Thank you so
Okay.
much. Thank
Penny,
Yeah. I think we're over our hour
Penny,
anyway.
You head now.
yesterday I found,
Oh, go ahead.
talking about the human factor, yesterday I found a site where you actually input the text that you've gotten from the chat GPT or whatever, and it tells you how much of it sounds like
A human?
an AI
Mm.
and how much of it isn't.
Wow.
And it
Wow.
marks the paragraphs in yellow. And I actually did the exercise. I took it out, I put it in Word, I changed those paragraphs, I put in my wording and passed it again through the same program, and it came up from an 80% to 97%
Wow.
of human voice.
So Marina,
So there's a lot of stuff coming out.
so Marina,
Wow.
if you don't mind me asking, what type of business do you have?
I've got graphic design.
Oh, lovely. You have an Instagram account?
Yes, but it's sort of outdated.
Oh,
But I've changed my focus. I'm doing book designs now,
Yeah.
and
okay, okay.
but I'll keep on going, so you can check it out.
Yeah. Is
Yep.
it in the chat?
Yeah. Share it with her in the chat,
No, I
Marina.
put my
Yeah, put it in the
I'll
chat
put
if you
mine
could.
in the chat
So and both
as
of you
well.
share. Both of you can share
check
with
it
each
out.
other in the chat if you'd like. There you go.
There you go.
Thank you.
Let's see.
You're welcome.
Fantastic. I appreciate the conversations and the questions. I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Yes, of course.
I'm
Thank
gonna
you
go
for
ahead
hosting this.
and
Yeah.
say thank you to everybody for joining us today. I'm just going to sign off, but if you guys want to stay around and chat for a little bit, I will still stay on. But let me go ahead and stop the recording. Thank you for
Yeah.
everybody, and stay tuned. for more of what we're going to be doing for the next workshops. And watch your inbox for more
Okay.
details.
Okay.
See y'all then.